Perfect. Only reason I'm doing that is just to get better light. As you guys might be able to see outside, it's kind of not the best weather. It's been raining for a few weeks now in Santa Cruz, so I'm going to be doing this video in my garage today. It's freezing, but I'm going to push through it for you guys. Been super busy, but I'm super happy to be back on camera. Haven't been feeling the best, and it's just been super busy. But I'm here to make another video for you guys, and this is a video that this is like one of the first videos I did when I had the Mustang, so I think it's like an OG style content for my channel, but I'm gonna do it for the S2000 now. This is gonna be 5 things that I love about my AP2 Honda S2000. They're not gonna be in any particular order or style, and then they're not gonna be in any order of like which one I like more than the other. So we're gonna get into it right now. The first one is actually going to be in the cockpit of the S2000, so I'm gonna grab you guys, flip you guys around, and show you what I'm talking about. For anyone that gets in the S2000 for the first time is gonna know how much the driver is the center of the vehicle. And that's one of the things I really love, is that when you get into this car, everything is very centered around the driver. So as you guys can see here, all the climate control and AC heat knobs and dials are all going to be facing the driver. The driver gets 1 and 2 vents on heat and AC, as well as these 2 guys down here, whereas the passenger only gets 1 vent. As you guys can see here on the left side, this is going to be the push to start button, as well as all the audio controls, things like that. These won't work if you do have an aftermarket stereo. I'm sure there's some kind of adapter you can get so that these buttons and dials still work on an aftermarket stereo, but they don't for this particular one. And then obviously the steering wheel, as well as the center console. So to go along with this whole driver-centric feel, the steering wheel is another feature that I really love in this car. When I first got it, I definitely was considering doing a aftermarket steering wheel, possibly something that had carbon fiber, Alcantara, something like that. But after driving this car for so long, or at least the past 4,000 or 5,000 miles, I've really fell in love with this steering wheel. It's the right thickness. It's a very small steering wheel, so it just feels great when you're driving it around corners. And to be quite honest, I really love this OEM style Honda badge here with the black. I think this steering wheel is actually a very nice one from factory. So I actually plan on keeping this steering wheel. It's part of this whole driving experience that you get from the S2000. Kind of reminds you that you're still in a Honda even though you are wrapping around corners. And then last but not least, with this whole driver-centric feel, is this insane cluster gauge that we have here. A lot of people either love or hate this gauge. I've seen reviews where people think it's outdated. Even back in 2009, 2010, when this car was still fairly new for the AP2, people thought that this gauge would be outdated. But in my opinion, I think this thing has dated fairly well. And for a lot of new standard cars, you still have the dial with the RPMs, things like that. But I really love how the tachometer revs up with the LED bar there. I think it's really cool. So that's one of the things I love. If you flip it over here, you get a little different view with the gauge there, just different colors. That's when the lights are on for night mode, whatever. But that is going to be number 1, is when you get into the car, this whole driver-centric feel of the steering wheel and all the gauges and everything facing you. That's going to be number 1. Now for number 2, we're going to go ahead and step out of the car so we can get a full visual look at the AP2 S2000. Excuse the dirty garage. There's a ton of projects going on at my house right now, so ton of stuff all over the ground. But number 2, this is the second thing that I love about this car, is that it is a mountain driving, canyon carving beast. This car has a ton of potential. For being stock though, is what I'm really getting at. This car's stock is amazing to drive. If you guys don't know, I'm gonna go ahead and pop the hoods just so I can show you. I've mentioned this in a couple of my other videos. This is something that I love to talk about just because you really do feel it when you're driving the car. If we pop the hood here, you can't really see because it's dark, but the engine is actually going to sit behind the front axle. So the wheelbase on this car is fairly long for what it is, but go ahead and close that there. The engine is going to be sitting behind these front wheels. What that means is that most of the weight, including the cabin, the passenger, all that stuff, is going to be more centered in the middle of the car rather than the front. Where you can get a lot of understeer, things like that. So when you have the engine and then the cab, sitting in the middle of the car, it's going to be a very well balanced vehicle. So this car stock just takes on corners like no other. It's a really fun car to drive if you came from a car like I did, which was the 2016 Mustang GT. This car handles a lot better than that one, at least stock comparison between the two. Granted, the Mustang is a very versatile car, but it, was, I guess, intended more for straight line speed, and it's a muscle car, whereas this one is a sports car roadster, but it handles insane. Number 3, for the third thing that I love about the AP2 Honda S2000 is this 2.2 liter F22 series engine. This thing is a beast. Obviously, it's not a ton of power. It doesn't push out a lot of torque. But for how light this car is and what it's designed for, this thing is actually a very snappy and fun feeling car with the engine that's in it. Now, the one thing that I think is huge on this engine is that it revs out to 8,200 RPMs. That is going to be the third thing that I love about this car, is that this thing is a rev monster. It's like a motorcycle on 4 wheels. So, to go along with the handling of this car, if you're punching out of a corner in second or third gear and you're, sitting around 5,000, 6,000 RPM, you can punch it and this thing will hit VTEC and really, just pull you out of that corner. Now, coming from a Mustang, it's very funny to say that VTEC's kicking in. It's like a little go-kart, but number 3 is going to be how high this car revs out. Very fun car to drive. You don't need to be changing gears all the time. You can keep it in second or third on some windy roads out here in Santa Cruz, and this thing is really fun. A Jordan Harris 5 things I love about a car would not be complete if we talked about practicality as a daily driver. All of my cars that I buy are my one and only cars, and they are my daily drivers. So we're going to be talking about space in this car. Now, one thing I really love about this car is that for how small it is, what it's really intended for, it actually has, a good amount of space for at least my situation. As you guys can see back here, I've got my backpack, I've got my jacket, I've got a few textbooks for my real estate classes, and typically I have a gym bag in here as well. And there is still a ton of space in the trunk for other things. If we come into the cabin here, we'll go ahead and open the door. We've got a side pocket on the door panel here. This is where I keep, gum, stuff like that, lotion, Altoids, things like that. And then if we come to the center console here, as you guys know, there is no glove box in the traditional spot. Your glove box is going to be in the center console. This is where I keep, wallet, insurance, registration, more important things that I can lock up with the lock here. But if we go ahead and open this, there is going to be even more space in those pockets there to go along with the cubby on the passenger side here and here. For a single person who, goes to work, goes to the gym, has school, this car has enough space for the stuff that I need to put in it, which is very good because it's a tiny car, but it has enough space for what I need. So that's going to be the 4th thing that I like about this car, is it's actually a practical daily driver for what I need. And this is going to be the 5th and final thing, is that it's a Honda. Now, like I said, Hondas get a bad rep. Hondas, are the laughingstock of the car community, and coming from a Mustang, it's actually pretty funny that I bought a Honda. But the one thing that I do love about this car is that in the past 4,000 to 5,000 miles that I've been driving it, and I'll show you guys how many miles are currently on it, it's got 177,777 miles, which is really funny because I didn't plan this video around the mileage, but this car has almost 200,000 miles. It's a 2004. It's going on 15 years of how old it is, and this car is still running like a champ. After doing all the maintenance stuff that I got done, the alignment, new tires, things like that, this car actually drives and runs like a champ still. Honda's reliability is really no joke. This car is actually a car that gets beaten on pretty often throughout the day. I drive this thing to work. I commute, about 45 miles one way, and then I drive for work as well, and I gotta tell you, I'm not easy on this car. I like to rev it out. I bang gears all the time, and this thing is still running really good. But coming from a 2016 Mustang GT that I bought brand new, yes, I did beat on that car, and I did some things here and there, but I also beat on this car, and this thing seems to be outlasting the Mustang by far. I'm not, bashing on Ford's products, whatever. Maybe I had a lemon car, I'm not too sure. But I gotta tell you that having this car, being able to beat on it and not have to worry about anything breaking or waking up in open, the car not starting, things like that. It's really nice. Japanese typically has very well built cars, at least reliability wise, so that's going to be the fifth and final thing of what I love about this AP2 Honda S2000. Now, I get it. It's a Honda, it's 15 years old. I may be hyping it up more than I should be, but you got to realize that this car was $9,500, and for what it does, what it can do, the potential for this car, it's really big. So that's what I'm really excited to get into, is doing things to this car to perfect it even more. This car actually from factory is a very well built car, but doing a couple things here and there to make it perform better, to make it run better, look better, etc. Is really exciting. So those are going to be the 5 things that I love about my 2004 Honda S2000 AP2. More content to come up for you guys. I'm very excited for the next few months being able to start buying the first real modifications for the S2000, so stay tuned for that. I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.